Please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Scott Goyette.
So a lot of us had to work as kids, right? The unfortunate thing was, where do we work? Well, I was very fortunate to have a friend of mine who said, hey, we should go to lifeguard class, lifeguard training. And I got a great job as a lifeguard on a beach, a lot better than McDonald's, right? So the first day of lifeguard training, what they forgot to tell me was there's a lot of beautiful lifeguard girls. So I was very busy looking at them and not listening to what I was supposed to be listening to. And I finally got yelled at. So the lifeguard instructor said, Scott, why don't you stand next to me and listen to what I say and then repeat it back to me. And so he was telling us a story about how riptides work. Riptides will pull somebody out, roughly 70 feet, he said, is the max at this beach. So all I need to know is if I'm getting pulled out, I'm only going to 70 feet. And he said, don't struggle, get the person you're trying to save and just drift along the beach, and eventually there'll be a place that will drift you right in. And so he was telling us the story that, yeah, there's a lot of great swimmers who'll swim in and say, I'm a great swimmer, it was no big deal. But really think about what's happening. There's gonna be that one time where the struggle's a little too much and that person's gonna drown. And I had to repeat it back to him. So again, this was one of those stories where a few years later, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, this is the exact analogy for life. My mom and I had to utilize the welfare system for a point when I was a kid. We used food stamps. And I felt like our whole life was always an uphill struggle, and that anything that we got because we were fighters, because we were chasing it, because we were going after it. And now today, I think it's actually the opposite. I think when you just give in and work hard, but don't fight. Don't see that everybody's after you. Just do the things you're supposed to do and just let life present opportunities to you. I think when this happens and we go with the flow, everything seems to work out.
Scott made me realize that life is much simpler if you stop fighting. I'd never thought of that before. I'm very excited to give this a try.
So in the early 1990s, I had a great opportunity to work with an organization called BioLinks. BioLinks sold time management software applications so that people weren't losing money on payroll. What happened was they used biometric scanners to make sure that the person who was signing in to work and signing out was actually present. Pretty cool product. So I had the great idea to go to all the car dealerships in Austin, Texas, and I ended up getting all of them to sign on board. What I realized was I wanted to make sure I was able to go to all the other businesses in Austin exclusively and sell the product and make some money. So I went to the CEO of the company and I said, could I have exclusive territory over Austin, Texas? They were based in San Antonio, and he said, I have no problem with that, but let me talk to the chairman of the board. So he makes a phone call and I get a call back and he says, he'd like to meet with you at 6 a.m. on Saturday. It's a little bit early, it's about an hour and a half from where I was living. But I said, okay, no problem. So I drive down on Saturday, get there 15 minutes early. There's nobody there, but there is a car in the distance in the corner of the parking lot. It was a beat up old Honda Accord. So I just go knock on the door, figured maybe there's somebody in there. And it turns out there's a janitor there, and he just asked me how I'm doing, would I like some water. We talked for a while. We talked about his grandkids, talked about his love for horses, how he's lived in San Antonio his whole life, and just a genuinely great guy. Probably spent about 45 minutes together. Then all of a sudden I realized I'm supposed to meet with Mr. Reynolds, and I said, do you know when he's going to be here? And he puts his hand out to me and he says, it's a pleasure to meet you, Scott, Mr. Reynolds. So what does that teach you? You never, ever know who you're talking to, treat everybody with respect, and just assume that everybody matters. So, in 1985, I had a great opportunity to go play at Red Auerbach's basketball camp. For any of us who have played basketball, we know who Red Auerbach is. He was one of the greatest coaches of all time with the Boston Celtics. At that camp, one of the great things that happened was if you make the finals of the camp, you get to play in the final game in front of all these amazing professional players. So we did. And so while playing that final game, we had Red Auerbach, Larry Bird, Danny Ainge, Kevin McHale. They're all sitting right there watching us. And so I was so excited. I just wanted to look like the most amazing player in the world to them and show off. So I threw 3 different passes that went right in the hands of players, and they lost the ball. And I was so frustrated. Every single time it happened, I think I was mumbling a profanity. At least I thought I was. It's probably louder than I believed it to be. So at halftime, Red Auerbach comes up to me and he says, "Hey, was that first pass behind the back, was that a good pass?" I said, "Yeah, it was right to him." He said, "What about that second pass?" I said, "Yeah, it was right to him." He said, "What about that third pass?" And before I could answer, he took that old man finger that all coaches can do, and he put it in my sternum and he said, "If you believe that pass was a good pass, you're an idiot." What does that mean? I thought, and I went and sat down on the bench and nearly in tears. I was so frustrated. Probably took about a year to figure it out, but really think about the meaning. If you're so concerned about saying, "I threw the good pass," but you're less concerned about whether you know that person has the ability to catch it, then who's at fault? Bring this to the office, to any place in your life. If you're so concerned about saying, "Well, I did my job," is that a team player behavior? Absolutely not. He changed my attitude, changed the way I live, changed the way I play sports. Because of him, I got a scholarship to play basketball in college. I've worked harder than anybody I know, able to get a scholarship to get an MBA, and life has just been a lot easier. And I hope you can learn that lesson too.